Let's talk about those policy positions.
Because we are going to expropriate land without compensation.
Yeah, I'm coming to that exactly.
Yes.
A lot of people are scared of that, right? And I want you today to just take us a little bit into the thinking about it. Let's talk about the land question. Between you and the ANC, right, you have failed to get the expropriation of land without compensation law passed in Parliament. And people were thinking, well, this is an opportunity now. EFF has put this resolution together. The ANC in their previous Nazareth conference put the same resolution. So, everybody was excited that finally this thing can happen. And you deadlocked. And you can tell me a little bit about what that deadlock was about. But let's assume you go into coalition with the ANC. Right? Whatever worst case scenario or however you look at it, what's going to change? How can we trust that this is not going to be another electioneering thing where the ANC just come onto the bandwagon of land just to excite people during the elections? You have put it as your non-negotiable pillar. I want to understand how it's going to be non-negotiable if you're going to enter into a coalition with somebody like the ANC who has already rejected your approach to it.
Look, the ANC agreed on expropriation of land without compensation.
Yeah.
Parliament passed a resolution to expropriate land without compensation. And we did the road shows to listen to our people based on the motion of the EFF. And overwhelming majority of South Africans said, expropriate land without compensation. We had a meeting here in Sandton, the EFF and the ANC, to agree on the formulation that goes into the constitution. Bulelani Nguga was there, some advocate of the ANC, Malindi was there, Lamola was there, Kaba was there. We looked at Bulelani Nguga and we were like, this one we're going to have a problem with, it's going to give us a problem. And this Malindi, but Lamola and this one were together. From the Youth League, we've been pushing this. Lamola opposed expropriation of land without compensation the way we expected Bulelani Nguga to oppose it. Bulelani Nguga said, this is a good deal for our people who must agree with this. We need to agree that we're going to expropriate land without compensation. Kaba went outside to speak to whoever on the phone, and then they came back, they said, no, it's not going to happen.
What was the deadlock exactly?
The deadlock is that the current policy allows expropriation of land without compensation. And then we said, if that is your argument, then let's make it explicitly so that there is not too much ambiguity and misinterpretation and interpretation of what we seek to do. So I'm just saying to you, JJ, we were doing it. There was no electioneering. It went inside Parliament. Then when the time comes for us to now pass it, the ANC says, no, we'll expropriate state-owned land. How do you expropriate something that the state is already owning, including without compensation, including rotten land? What do we do with the rotten land? Because the land we're talking about is this land where we are now. We want prime land owned by the state. And when you started, you said people are scared of that. It's an imaginary thing. It's a swarkhafar. It's not true. This elite that stays in Midrand here, they are staying on a land owned by Indian. Who said to them, you are leasing for 100 years, 99 years lease. Beautiful houses are being built, not shacks, on a land that they don't own. There are no transfer costs here in Waterfall. You buy a house, you don't pay for transfer costs because the house will never be transferred to you. It remains on the land.
But wasn't the deadlock that, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, isn't the deadlock that you are saying the land must be in the hands of the state, and the ANC in this case will say no, you must give title deed to the people directly. Is there a medium, a happy medium that you can reach so that this thing can pass?
There is no medium we can reach. I can only trust the state, not a family. If you can trust a family of Indians who were given land by Paul Crook or whoever, why would you not trust a land owned by the state? And the state says to you, the EFF policy is very clear. You don't lose anything. You declare this portion of land is under me. I use it for this purpose of hotel. And then it gets registered like that. You continue business as usual. Tomorrow we
but is it yours? Is it yours or does it belong to the state?
It's yours. The water belongs to the state. But when you drink that water from the tap, do you feel state ownership there? You don't feel any state ownership. The electricity belongs to the state. When you switch on, do you feel any state ownership there? That SABC belongs to the state. When you watch it, do you feel less ownership of what is in your house? It's not correct. The mineral resources used to belong to the Anglo-American.
Yeah.
They were now taken to the custodianship of the state. And anyone who wants to mine in South Africa must now apply and be given a license by the state. No one now doesn't feel less owner of the mineral resources. So it is entirely incorrect.
Yeah.
Our people will never get the land for as long as the means to the ownership of the land is as is. Let's look at the policy of willing buyer, willing sell, right? Even if you can have money, JJ, for some reason the Oppenheimers give you money, and then you're willing to buy a land here in Sandton, and there is no willing seller.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? You'll never own a land. So it doesn't matter even if you have money. It's worse when you don't have money.
How negotiable are you, though, to enter into coalition with people who see it exactly the opposite of you?
Look, those are ideological issues.
Yeah.
Those are ideological issues. The first thing first is the people of South Africa. That you ought to join a coalition that says, we're going to end corruption.
Yeah.
We're going to fight crime fire by fire. We're going to make sure that the youth of South Africa get employment. And those that are still looking for employment and they are graduates, there is graduates allowance to encourage the culture of learning and teaching in our communities. And make sure that the whole of South Africa is clean to restore the dignity of our people. Because you have not won elections, you can't keep on insisting, yes, these issues will keep on putting them.
Yeah.
But there can't be a deal breaker that when we've got an opportunity to resolve the immediate challenges of our people and use that popularity to outrightly win the elections and implement these positions without any irritation.
That's an interesting angle. Let's apply it to the other pillar of banks.
Yes.
Can you just tell me how this is gonna? Let's say you get power tomorrow, right? The banks, almost all of the big 4 or 5 banks belong to private sector.
Yes.
And what's interesting is if you look at the BEE charter around banks, is the poorest in as far as target is concerned. In fact, I think they said something like, in 5 years, and this was long ago, like 2007, in 5 years they would like 10% to belong to black people. So it's even under targeted already. So you can see that they're scared to touch that part of the economy. How are you going to, let's say you are in power next year this time. How are you going to deal with the thing of banks? Are you going to say, now all the banks belong to the state? Right? How do you do that? Because this is, if you like, an uncharted water, even by the current government. Even with the BEE law and so on, they still excuse them to say, no, you only have to give up 10% of what you are doing. And what's interesting now is, when you want to do a BEE deal, you still have to go to the same banks to get to help you to buy into their new businesses, which actually means they now still own those businesses because you owe them and they can't transfer ownership to you until you finish paying, which hardly ever happens. Badge on that for me. right? The bank, this whole thing about we're going to want the banks to belong to the state. How is that going to happen?
It's very easy. What is the Reserve Bank doing in African Bank? Because it's not supposed to be in the shareholder in the bank. It's a regulator. Get out. The state takes that stake of the Reserve Bank. Then you consolidate it with the PIC stake. And then you take the African Bank. You make it a state-owned bank that will provide affordable services to our people. You close no bank. Why should the state bank close the private bank when the state school did not close private school? When the state hospital did not close the private hospital? They still flourish. Who said that when you establish a state bank, other banks will collapse?
So
I'm not sure why
will you leave the banks as they are?
We will leave them and will beat them on their game. We ought to provide the best services to a point where you will not see the need to bank with ABSA. You will bank with the state. And you know, it's not true that private sector is inherently competitive and successful. In Kenya, private schools are closing because people are not taking their children to private schools. Public education is providing quality education to a point where you don't need private schools. So you don't behave like a dictator going around closing things. You make yours work.
But do you think
and attractive.
Do you think your message hasn't sunk in there? Because as you have said with the first area of land, even on this bank thing, there is a scarecrow mentality that says, you know, there's going to be capital flight. These people are going to destroy the country. There'll be no foreign direct investment because they're eyeing the banks and they're just going to cause chaos. Do you think that with what you've explained now, that it's something that maybe it hasn't sunk in a way that you explain how you deal with that second bill?
We have said this since the times in the Youth League, that nationalization of mines does not mean taking any mine from Anglo-American. We are the ones who issue licenses of mining. You establish a big mining state company, and then you look for profitable mines, like the one in Mkopani, where Anglo is mining itself and is the only mine that they are mining themselves. The rest they've given other people. You look at a platinum that you can get, or it's not costly to mine here. You give to the state, or this ones go to the state. It's not expensive to mine here. We make money the same day we arrive. You are the one who issues licenses. The Department of Mineral Resources knows all the beautiful minerals in South Africa, all the farms. They will tell you this is there, this is there. They know it. So we don't go deep down mine going to look for non-existing gold. Tabarakwa. We don't want that. Wherever we go, it must be profitable. It must not be at a high cost for the state, and it must be done.
That's interesting.
By the state.
Let's link